to any degree at this particular point in time regarding Frito-Lay and the possible alleged possible, I'm choosing my words, because big boys play dirty. Yes, ma'am. Alleged atrocities, and so
Right.
and resulting death and illness and etc. So at this point, because Reggie's really been giving it a lot, Miss Tisdale, and I'm happy for him. So why are you interested? What about this claims your attention and your involvement, please, ma'am?
Well, sure. Thank you for having me, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the case was dismissed last fall,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't mean that there aren't any merits to the case.
Mm-hmm.
And the role of the Jackson Advocate and all Black press across the country is to share our voice and our resources that we have, to assist those seeking remedy. And we're all about remedy. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's fair for, Reggie or anyone else who knows or believes that their loved ones, were wrong to pursue justice on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we have to make sure that we lend voice to where he feels and has apparent evidence, that, Frito-Lay, and let me say, Frito-Lay is just one of a number of big companies who have had a lot of civil rights violations.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to, yes, concentrate on Frito-Lay on this instance, but they're big business. I mean, I think
Yes.
I looked at it in last year, they were almost at 16 billion, in revenue, and so we learn big numbers when we look at how we divide the pie, right?
Yes.
And that's a big piece of the pie.
Mm-hmm.
So we're interested in letting him know he doesn't have to fight the battles by himself. That's without voice. People do feel helpless,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and we don't want anyone. As long as one is held back, we're all held back. So the position of the Jackson Advocate is to say, hey, he has some legitimate complaints. He's voiced them. He's taken them to court.
Mm-hmm.
And just because it didn't work out the first round, it doesn't mean that he should be denied to appeal it or go back and maybe find some more evidence, to bring it back up again. So that's our interest, and that's constant. I mean, that's just what we do. I mean, I've been with the Jackson Advocate for 40 years,
Okay.
and I have retired. My daughter has taken over as publisher.
Mm-hmm.
Her late father, Charles Wesley Tisdale, was, the, freedom fighter. I'm more of a maker, but he was a freedom fighter. 24/7 is on his gravestone.
Really?
Because that's how he lived his life.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Mm-hmm.
constant. So, we do what we can to represent his life struggle with the Black press and also our own that we have learned and value and are passionate about. So that's my position when it comes to Reggie or anyone who feels that, they don't want to be alone in their
Yes,
fight,
of course not. Of course not. And I want to thank you personally for sharing that. And the real star of my show is Rooster, because I play him during the course of discussion or whatever, and then when I sign on, because and people said, why you play that crazy Rooster? I said, because it's way past time for us to wake up. And you know what that means when the rooster crows and stuff like that, So anyway, so I just wanted to explain that's what that strange noise is that you might hear going, cock-a-doodle-doo. Good morning, it's time to wake up and be about something other than just boogalooing. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this. So you said you've been with the paper 40 years?
40 years. Yes,
40 years.
40 years, yes. And I, grew up in Wisconsin and,
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know about the Black press, but it is so important that
Mm-hmm.
whatever community your listeners live in, I hope that they will be supportive of the Black press that's in their community, because we tell the real story.
Mm-hmm.
And if white people really want to know what Black people are really about, is really the Black press that talks about everyday living, and the African American experience.
Yes.
So that's where we can service, both communities.
Well, here in Dallas or the DFW Metroplex, we have, what would you guess, Brother Reggie, 6, 7, 8 black newspapers.
Just about.
Well, pretty close, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then they vie for the small advertising dollars. Miss Tisdale, that avail, and and this, that, and the other, and so if we don't watch it, we'll end up just hearing a lot of things that are not really that relevant to us, because, like, hey, there are problems. Let's face them. Let's get after them. Let's work together, and let's coalesce with whomever we need to get things resolved. But it just seems like even with the 7 or 8 newspapers and the black representation, quote, whatever that is. I'm talking about Dallas, Texas. I don't care who likes it or doesn't. But this is where I live, and whatever. But anyway, so I just think that we could be doing more, and we could be pushing a certain agenda, Miss Tisdale, more are doing a better job at that. I know people have to survive, and this and other, but if you're not careful, if that's the case, what you have to do to survive, well, then you have to worry about being controlled in terms of.
Well, the black press should continue to be independent. I tell people all the time, and we're nothing but a fly sheet. We're gonna present the news,
Yeah.
because we can't let the people determine what our news is.
Mm-hmm.
We have to create it, and we don't have to have news.
Mm-hmm.
I hate when we have a whole one that has to be something that's generic, but we make sure that we want our writers, to look at the issues and to give our opinion. We don't do any AP stories, and because you don't need us if you're going to use AP stories. So really independent writing and making sure that we're presenting the black news.
I was just chucking my mind goes in a whole bunch of different places at the same time. But when you mentioned about AP and the Associated Press, and they don't need us. They don't need us. And as a matter of fact, probably in many instances, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they'll come in and do a story about Coach, what was his name, Reggie?
Deion Sanders.
Coach Sanders that went out to California. To Colorado, and then but they spent more about maybe just what he did as far as the athletic program was concerned. But then when this personal move took place, he was here in Dallas and was doing Sanders was doing many of the same kinds of things here. But so Associated Press will take the yolk out of the egg and what the case is and present it in terms of using us. But in terms of the whole egg, the case and stuff like that, oftentimes they look the other way because they really don't need us. There's so much that's going on, and these kinds of things. But anyway, I was just doing it because this is reality. I have 1 or 2 press people that I can get on the show to talk and this and other, and then we are here in Dallas. A lot of these people are protective of the little territory that they have, and then in the end, Miss Tisdale in the audience, and again, I'll pull Red Butler up here in just a minute, let him answer the question for you. But then overall, we lose. There's no gain. Because to me, at my age and what I've gone through, doing the civil rights movement and what is getting my life threatened here in Texas and et cetera, that we move backwards faster than we have moved forward the last 50 or so years, and I don't see the tide ebbing to slow it down at this particular point in time. But that's not so much a criticism as it is a call to awareness, a call to consciousness, and for an assessment, a self-assessment, an individual assessment in terms of what we are and what we're doing about it, or what we're going to do. And so the spirit that you have expressed in terms of wanting to come in and be of whatever assistance you can to Brother Reggie and his efforts and the efforts of others, that's that's just incredible. I can't find the words to say.
I appreciate that. Until big business can just do the right thing on their own.
Mm-hmm.
I know we have to have a judicial system. I know that we're a capitalistic society. I know
Mm-hmm.
how
Mm-hmm.
it works, but why can't people just do the right thing? I mean, it takes either EEOC, it
Mm-hmm.
takes ASHA, it takes all of the entities that make sure that things go well
Mm-hmm.
order for justice to prevail. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, why can't there be a system where you've done wrong? I mean, Lay has been tagged for civil rights
Yeah,
violations,
yeah.
even not just
Mm-hmm.
race, but religion, where they've
Mm-hmm.
had to pay, because they wronged somebody just because of their religious beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And but they have attorneys and they pay them
Oh, pay 'em
well.
well to fight,
Uh,
fight to the
a
death.
retainer, get to go to the Christmas party,
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then, like I said, they're just one of so many. I mean, Walmart and other big companies, have
Mm-hmm.
all tagged for their civil rights,
Mm-hmm.
but until companies just do the right thing.
And then this Tisdale and audience, why should they? Quote, why should they do the right thing? And because like a lot of the issues and problems that we have in this country and over hundreds of years, uh, didn't have to get to the extreme or what the case is, position that they are, or relations, what the case is, and they didn't have to get there. Because like I recall I worked on the college level for 10, 12 years in Arkansas, at the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville, and in Minnesota, and back here in Texas. In Texas, and everybody talked about, well, we can't find this black factor. We can't find this. We can't do this. Can't. So you keep hearing all those can'ts, but oftentimes once at the president level who was running the school, and then they sent down edicts in terms of here's what we're going to do, and then progress was made to whatever greater or lesser, degree and whatever. And so, and that's all it takes. And whether it's from the governor of Mississippi or the governor of Texas or the governor of New York or what the case is, in terms of their responsibilities, to do the right thing, declare something, and then say, here's how it's going to be academic things, here's how it's going to be principles of this school, et cetera, et cetera. So it isn't that complicated.
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy. People want to take the hard route for whatever reason. But, employees, I mean, they give their all. Of course, they want to take care of their families and live deep order and be able to contribute, to society. And, just a paycheck isn't enough reward, treated human,
Yes.
And until get to that point, I want more than a paycheck, if I was for somebody, and the people that I work with, the only time I'm boss is on payday. We treat each other as co-workers. I mean,
yes.
family, right? So they do promote themselves as this big happy family, but then they don't treat the employees like family. I would hate to be a member of their bloodline, but that's the way they're going to be treated. So we got a lot of work to do across the board with big companies that make lots of money from blood of those who work for them.
Yeah.
A lot of work. I want to commend Reggie while I'm on the line.
Yes, ma'am.
For him fighting, taking this to make sure that his father and others who now have no voice, that they get justice. I mean, that's a tremendous commitment to work on behalf of those that you love and then those that you don't even know, but you know that they've been wrong. And him for every day. I mean,
yes,
it's not
I know.
like deal. This is like a constant, and so you really can't. The only thing you can do is appreciate it, because we know, there are very few people who will just take up a cause. And I mean, just make it their life work. I mean, very few people.
Very few people. Very few people.
We have to make sure that we don't isolate him, because the easiest thing to do is make folks think that others are crazy, right?
Of course. So I always use that
People are
tactic.
crazy
And
people,
it's crazy, crazy, crazy.
You don't want to fool nobody. If you don't want to be bothered on that airplane,
Mhm.
and all you got to do is get on the plane and slobber.
Yeah.
You will not be bothered the whole trip.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody's
Yeah.
gonna bother you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't want to associate with that. So we have to make sure that we protect him
Mhm.
from anyone even assuming that he's out there by himself.
But yes. Well, Ms. Tisdale, what in terms of your involvement here, in terms of what just researching and then reporting the story, what the case is. So, what kind of and it might be an unfair question. I think it doesn't matter what kind of impact. If it's 1% impact, or 10%, or 90% impact. That was a mundane, almost ridiculous question. You're just committing to helping to make a difference. But what do you think can can help to move this thing along? Because like anytime Reggie wants to come on my show, and what the case is, he has had access, and he does, as long as, because I have other guests and during the course of a couple of hours. But so what do you expect? What do you hope?
What we have been doing is making sure that
Excuse
he
me.
has resources, getting the people who have the knowledge
Mm-hmm.
of cases related to what he's trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Jackson Advocate, back in the 90s, we had some real protests against Frito-Lay in Jackson. Because,
Okay. Okay.
like, I think Mississippi has like 5 offices, Frito-Lay offices. So, I
Wow.
mean,
Okay.
I think they have 130 around the country, but I think we have like 5. And
Mm-hmm.
so, back in the 90s, we were protesting because the black press is different. We don't just report. I mean, if there's a press conference, we probably called it, right? We're
Uh-huh.
not just attending it. If there's a march, we probably called for the march
Yes.
and are front line. So the black press is different than, just the media. We're
Mm-hmm.
for where other people, by the people,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Sure.
the resources of those names of individuals, attorneys or advocates or investigators who were actually working on those cases, then and maybe since then,
Mm-hmm.
and him in touch with the right people to get all of the research that he needs done to build a case,
Mm-hmm.
add to the case he already has.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. And then lending him our best researchers and investigators to try to
Wow.
help to get the information that he needs. And then once we have it, then you can report on it. A lot of things you do, you don't have to report on as long as you get
Mm-hmm.
the remedy.
Oh,
So
that is
long as
powerful.
you know what the remedy is, and that's what we go after. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of stuff is accomplished that never got printed
Yes.
because the advocate, even though it's weekly, we're working every day for people. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, my husband used to go to court with people to get the remedy, and so a
Mm-hmm.
lot of
Mm-hmm.
times they write a story about it. So the black
Wow.
community is very unique. It's been
Mm-hmm.
around a long
Long
time.
time, long time. We like
Yeah,
Frederick
yeah.
Douglass and
We'll
all.
be we'll be 85 years in October,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're the longest regularly published newspaper in the state.
Mm-hmm.
But remember the Chicago Defender and
Yes,
Pittsburgh
yes. Oh yeah.
and
Get into the
Philadelphia.
real history.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
press all around the country. Ready and willing. We have a network of 200 newspapers, so as soon as
Mm-hmm.
we ship out, all of them have the option to pick it up. So
Mm-hmm.
we're a powerful source.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And that, I'm sure that's inclusive of some of these papers that are here in Dallas. Of course, PepsiCo is no longer based here nor Frito-Lay, but at one point in time, this is where they were. But with some politics and other kind of thing, many of the huge corporations that used to boast Dallas as an address, that they moved out of Dallas. And what if you're north and this kind of thing. A lot of folks don't know, don't pay any attention to it, etc. So, but I tell you what I will do, and I'll try to work some time in here I'll just take my next guest about 6:30, and well, okay, since I'm usually done at 6, but it's when you're doing a live show, and it just the end of the thing throws you off, and it's kind of like a domino effect, etc. And then I get excited with my guest and the information that's being shared, you know, and what is, and I can really mess up a program. But anyway, but that's just part of my dedication and my concern for making a difference.
Well, thank you so much for what you do too, Joe. I mean, it's important that we have a network that we can tap into, you know, just to keep people aware and abreast. But, you know, we could put something in the paper, you know, searching for people who have their own stories to tell about, you know.
Yes. And I very freely make that kind of information available, because like I have people, I know folks from all around the world, and what the case is, and I'm saying that boastfully. And I was talking with a guy today, this just before we depart, Dr. John Carlos, 1968 Olympian. He's living in Atlanta now, he and his wife. But anyway, I started telling him that something about John Carlos. He said, well, you know John Carlos? And that's what I always get. And John says, why do people doubt that you know me? I said, I don't know. I guess they think it's just beyond me, I guess. But John Carlos and I were friends at then East Texas State University over at Commerce, Texas, and which is now Texas A&M University at Commerce. But anyway, John left Commerce because of a lot of racism. Of course, there's a documentary on that, etc. But he left Commerce, and then before he went out to San Jose, California, took up with Harry Edwards and those gentlemen who led them down to Mexico City and the clenched fist protest. Like I said, John met with Dr. Martin Luther King, and John used to call me Martin when we were in school at Commerce there, because of my activities, my involvement, and my pushing, and I got my life threatened as a result of it. But yeah, he always called me Martin. But I never got a chance to meet Dr. King, and so John told me that before he went out to California, when he met with Dr. King, that he told him he had a friend over at Commerce that looked like him and reminded him of him, and then that I was real active in doing that. And so it gave me chills, as it does now. Just think, I said, John, you shared my name? He said, I introduced you in absentia to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Luther King. So that's one of my highlights of our friendship, among many, you know, etc. But the thing is, we have these contacts. We have people out there, and John is a great humanitarian, you know, etc. And so, but there's so many of us, and Ms. Tisdale, we have stories to share, and then we don't share them. We don't write books. We die, and we take all of our knowledge and skills and everything else right to the grave with us. And somehow that needs to be, you know, reversed too. But that comes through working with young people. I'm a retired a school teacher, and what have you. But that comes through working with the young folks, and it's not easy to get through to a lot of them today. But we have to put forth maximum effort, you know, to do so. We're gonna have to talk again. I'm gonna see my daughter this weekend, and I'm gonna.
Tell her hello.
Well, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna give her your name and your number, and whatever the case is. Yes, yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for taking time.
No, thank you for taking time from your busy schedule. And Reggie, thank you for the connectivity for us with Miss Alice Tisdale and what the case is. So Miss Tisdale, I think you're probably gonna be on my show again. Yes, ma'am. All right, that sounds great.
Well, it was great meeting her at the time as well.
Yeah, you continue to be blessed, and all that you do, and you're going and you're coming.
So much.
Yes,
much
ma'am.
love. Much love.
Much love. Thank you, dear. All right. Bye. Okay, well, that was good, Reg. You did good for old country Arkansas boy, Mississippi boy.
Well, you know, as they say, we're alike in many, many ways.